Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudhirayet nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shrirupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gauravaktarunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are studying our Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, 20th chapter. So we have seen how the Sarga and Visarga are going on, and it's summarized in this 20th chapter. Sarga is a little bit summarized in 4-5 verses. And then Maitreya Muni is starting about Visarga. Not all the details, but some parts of the Visarga is explaining here more. Majorly, we have seen that 10th chapter of this canto, 12th chapter. You have studied about Visarga also. How Brahmaji creates many species at different levels. And this chapter explains a little bit more. So, major section is almost only secondary creation, as we have seen that first part is about majorly the glorification of Vidura, who was asking questions. Glorification of Vidura by Shaunakrishi, how his character, his qualities are very much appreciated. And then he continued the question that what did Vidura asked? What did Vidura ask to Maitreya Muni about the creation? So that's how this section started. Maitreya just gave a brief introduction to Sarga. We have seen even in our video clip. We will see some slokas here today, and then we will see the little more part of the Visarga also. We will complete that Visarga so that we will have overall understanding of Visarga. In what sequence Brahmaji created Visarga, what all he created. So we will just see maybe 1 or 2 verses here, and then we will see the video. So we are discussing last time 18th verse. We started a bit. We read the sloka. There are 5. Brahmaji manifests that ignorance which is already created by Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord creates this the coverings in subtle form, but Brahmaji manifests these ignorances, the five kinds of ignorances, layers of ignorance. Of course, this verse also came exactly in 12th chapter. There also you might have discussed elaborately, definitely. But we'll just see some again, recap some aspects. In the video also it will be shown what are these five ignorances. Tamishra, Antatamishra, Tamas, Moha and Mahamoha. Prabhupada explains a little bit more here also. Yeah. Tamishra, Antatamishra. Okay, this is a good one verse. I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions in his Jaiva book. We will just go through the translation. What he gives a beautiful. He gives the ignorance of the disciple is removed by a spiritual master in terms of these five ignorances. So basically, Brahma is saying, of course, Maitrimani is saying to Vidura that first of all, Brahma created these five shadows or five coverings of ignorance. So basically, to facilitate the living entity to enjoy, he has to be given some kind of a covering, right? Otherwise, how one can enjoy? He has to be covered over. Then only he can try to imitate the Supreme Lord in terms of proprietorship, enjoyership, and controllership. All these things he can try to. So of course, these are also divided into two categories. Same things are divided into two categories: Avaranatmika Shakti and Prakshepatmika Shakti. That you might have heard also. So tamas generally is considered Avaranatmika Shakti. Tamas is the covering, that which covers is Avaranatmika Shakti. Others are all put it under Prakshepatmika Shakti. It's imposed identities, material identities, etc. So we will see that also. So this is the main point of this verse, that Brahmaji created these five layers in order to give the living entity a kind of a false imagination that I am the enjoyer. So can someone read this translation for this sloka or famous sloka? Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. We recite every time before the class or before any or sadhana. So he explains in his Jaiva one of the chapters. Read, someone can read.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So I'll just read, Prabhuji. I humbly worship right now from there.
Yeah, correct.
I humbly worship my spiritual master who has applied the salve of transcendental knowledge upon my eyes and thus expatriated the five severe layers of material science, which are ignorance about Jiva's real spiritual identity, false identification of the body as the self, assumed false proprietorship over matter as a master enjoyer, attachment to material conceptions, and objects in forgetfulness of their actual relationship with Krishna, and thus absorption in material duality and the resultant fear antagonism and distorted perception of material bewilderment. Timirandhasya, the darkness of ignorance in the form of striving for the four Vedic goals, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, stems from these five layers of nescience. Mercifully, the Guru opens the spiritual vision of the Jiva and makes him fixed in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So
this
here,
Timarandasya is amazing, Prabhuji. So dharma, artha, kama, moksha is actually nescience.
that's amazing. He brings out very amazing insights. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Timirandasya, the ignorance, because of these five layers of ignorance, stems all this dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Yeah, moksha is also put under ignorance because though they are not identifying with the body as a self, as a second point that is mentioned here, moha, but still they don't know the real identity because they are still ignorance about Jiva's real spiritual identity. So this is Tama. Then assumed false proprietorship of the matter. This is another one. As a master and enjoyer. Tama moha, mahamoha. So basically, these are all given a different terminology. Avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesh. The same five things are termed another way. Of course, Vishnu Jagatakur quotes, I don't know in 12th chapter whether you referred to Bhakti Vishnu Jagatakur's purport, whether teacher mentioned these points. But Vishnu Jagatakur himself quotes Patanjali. All these five ignorances are compared in the sense like with these five other names, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesh. So that's so also here. Avidya basically is ignorance about Jiva's spiritual identity. Avidya, that is avidya. Asmita, about ego, false identification as a body of the body as a self. Asmita. The raga, assumed false proprietorship, especially as an enjoyer, attachment. That is the avidya, asmita, raga. And then dvesha and abhinivesh, attachment to material conceptions and objects in forgetfulness of their actual relationship with Krishna, and thus absorption of material duality and the resultant fear and antagonism. So dvesh. And then distorted person of material enjoyment, material bewilderment. So all these five things are compared to the five layers, five ignorances and five aspects. Avidya, asmita, raga, dvesh, and abhinivesh. Prabhupada explains in the purport also a little bit how all these five are covering the living entity. But basic point is that we are covered our first Avarnatmika Shakti, and then we are Prakshayat Patmika Shakti. We are being entitled for different things so that we can continue our things between Raga and Dvesha. And Abhinivesha especially, he mentions it's almost like a death. Prabhupada mentions all these things. Okay, let us read this purport. Small purport only. Yeah. Read.
The conditioned souls or living entities who have come to the material world to enjoy sense gratification are covered in the beginning by five different conditions. The first condition is a covering of tamishra or anger. Constitutionally, each and every living entity has a minute independence. It is misuse of that minute independence for the conditioned soul to think that he can also enjoy like the Supreme Lord, or to think, why shall I not be a free enjoyer like the Supreme Lord? This forgetfulness of his constitutional position due to anger or envy, this forgetfulness of his is due to anger or envy. The living entity, being eternally a part and parcel servitor of the Supreme Lord, can never, by constitution, be an equal enjoyer with the Lord. When he forgets this,
Yeah.
So, when he forgets this, however, and tries to be one with him, in his condition is called tamishra. Even in the field of spiritual realization, this tamishra mentality of the living entity is hard to overcome. In trying to get out of the entanglement of material life, there are many who want to be one with the Supreme. Even their transcendental activities Even in their transcendental activities, this lower grade mentality of Tamishra continues. Andhatamishra involves considering death to be an ultimate end. The atheists generally think that the body is the self and that everything is therefore ended with the end of the body. Thus, they want to enjoy material life as far as possible during the existence of the body. Their theory is as long as you live, you should live prosperously. Never mind whether you commit all kinds of so called sins. You must eat sumptuously, beg, borrow, and steal. And if you think by stealing and borrowing you are being entangled in sinful activities for which you will have to pay, then just forget that misconception, because after that, everything is finished. No one is responsible for anything. No one is responsible for anything he does during his life. This atheistic conception of life is killing human civilization, for it is without knowledge of the continuation of eternal life. This Andhatamishra ignorance is due to tamas, the condition of not knowing anything about the spirit, soul, is called tamas. This material world is also generally called tamas because 99% of its living entities are ignorant of their identity as soul. Almost everyone is thinking that he is this body. He has no information of the spirit soul. Guided by this misconception, one always thinks this is my body and anything in relationship with this body is mine. For such misguided living entities, sex life is the background of material existence. Actually, the conditioned souls in ignorance in this material world are simply guided by sex life, and as soon as they get opportunity for sex life, they become attached to so-called home, motherland, children, wealth, and opulences. As these attachments increase, moha or the illusion of the bodily concept of life also increases. Thus, the idea that I am this body and everything belonging to this body is mine also increases, and as the whole world is put into moha, sectarian societies, families, and nationalities are created, and they fight with one another. Mahamoha means to be mad after material enjoyment. Especially in this age of Kali, everyone is overwhelmed by the madness to accumulate paraphernalia for material enjoyment. These definitions are very nicely given in Vishnu Puran, where it is said, Tamo viveko mohasyad antah karana vibhrama mahamohastu vidneyo gramya bhoga sukhaishana maranam hi andhatamishram tamishram krodha uchyate avidya pancha parvaisha parvaisha pradurbhuta mahatmanah.
Yeah, so from these two slokas, these things are explained. Especially Maranam, Andatamishram, basically different degrees of covering. As I mentioned, that Tama is the main avidya, so which covers the Avaranatmika Shakti, which covers the living entity, spiritual identity, and then other things follow. Then Prakshepatmika, other four are categorized. That's how Vishwanath Chakravarti also mentions in his purport. So because of all these ignorance layers, we are been continuing here in this material world with various degrees of coverings. So as we practicing bhakti, all these layers, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentioned, that spiritual master, by the grace of spiritual master, all these conditionings, all these ignorances is rooted out. So that's how one gets out of these coverings. Of course, Brahmaji creates in order to execute his service to the certain Lord and also for the living entities. Yeah, text 19. So basically the whole section is almost about secondary creation that we are going through. And mainly in this, all the yakshas and rakshasas, all the devatas and all other living beings, and up to the Manu. Last creation is about Manus. They are created, but during creation, what happens? What are the struggles? What are the difficulties that one faces during our service? And while the difficulties come, what to do? So that is the main aspect of this section. That Brahmaji is trying to serve the Supreme Lord, but unfortunately there are many unknown difficulties, which are bewildering difficulties, even to Brahmaji. So they are coming up in between, but he has to. He's 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 giving us also great lessons what to do when we are seriously and sincerely taking up service, but at the same time we are facing such an unimaginable or unexpected difficulties during services. So we will continue. Nisasarjatmanah kayam abhinandam stamomayam jagruh yaksharakshramsi ratrim kshutrut samudbhavam.
Out of disgust, Brahma threw off the body of ignorance, and taking this opportunity, Yakshas and Rakshasas sprang for possessions of the body, which continued to exist in the form of night. Night is the source of hunger and thirst.
Yeah. So basically here we will read in the other commentaries, upcoming commentaries also. Basically, Brahma is trying to throw off the body of ignorance. It's a more of a subtle body. Later verses also we will see that ignorance is when he created, because he has to meditate on that the creation, so that whole subtle body became body of ignorance. So he gave up that body of the ignorance. Then they took up Yakshas and Rakshasas sprang for the possession of the body. So that's how the Yakshas and Rakshasas are taking charge of that one.
So, Prabhuji, one question. So, when the Brahma is creating all of this, he also goes into mode of ignorance. Is that the understanding? And then he gives it up?
He doesn't, but he doesn't go in directly into ignorance.
But he has to assume ignorance.
He has to do that service. He is influenced by that. He may not be going into ignorance, because going into ignorance he cannot create anything. That he will be confused. But he's creating. That means he has a proper intelligence. But when things happen, he's sometimes he could not understand. So, but he has that intelligence to where to take shelter. Right now, he is influenced. He is not covered by ignorance, but he is influenced by kind of a confusion. Yeah, that we can infer, because he knows where to take right shelter. That we will see in the upcoming verses also. Yeah, that we cannot say that he is completely under ignorance, because he is doing the service of the Lord, and Lord himself inspired him to create. So that's my understanding. Yes, because upcoming verses show that one. Yeah, definitely he was a little bit confused or agitated by how things are happening. He was a little bit disturbed. But yeah, he's not fully under mode of ignorance at all. Yeah. Text 20. Kshutrubhyam upasrishtaste tam jagdhum abhi dudruvaha mam rakshatainam chakshadvam ityuchuh kshutrut arditaha.
Overpowered by hunger and thirst, they ran to devour Brahma from all sides and cried, "Spare him not, eat him up."
So
Representative of
continue.
The representatives of the Yakshas and Rakshasas still exist in some countries of the world, it is understood that such uncivilized men take pleasure in killing their own grandfathers and holding a love feast by roasting the bodies.
Or is giving a different definition of love feast here. So yeah, still maybe so many in forests, aborigines and all, they have different cultures. They may be doing that. That's what Prabhupada is referring. But they are all these sections of people, Yakshas and Rakshas. Their mentalities are there basically. The mentality of trying to devour the very source of them is a demonic mentality, Yakshas and Rakshasas. So how their names came up is spoken here in this verse. Why they are called Yakshas and Rakshasas. Devastanaha samvigno mamam chakshata rakshata aho me yaksha rakshamsi prajayuyam bapuvitha.
Brahma, the head of the demigods, full of anxiety, asked them, "Do not eat me, but protect me. You are born from me and have become my sons. Therefore, you are Yakshas and Rakshasas." The demons
Continue.
who were born, the demons who were born from the body of Brahma were not be protected. Who said that he should be eaten were called Yakshas, and the ones who said that he should not be protected became Rakshasas, man eaters. The two
Mhm.
Yakshas and Rakshasas are the original creation by Brahma and are represented even until today in the uncivilized men who are scattered all over the universe. They are born of the mode of ignorance, and therefore, because of their behavior, they are called Rakshasas or man eaters.
Based on their the ones who said he should be eaten as well, Yakshas and Rakshas. Of course, proper explaining about terminology, how they came up. So that's the mentality. They're trying to destroy the very source, or trying to give anxiety to the very source. Is the Rakshasa, is the demonic mentality. Sometimes children may give a lot of trouble to parents also. That's why sometimes they scold children. Rakshasa. Yeah. देवता प्रभयायाय दिव्यान् प्रमुखतोऽसृजत् ते आह ते आहुर्देवयन्तो विसृष्टां तां
Hare
प्रभामः. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Translation. He then created the chief demigods who were shining with the glory of goodness. He dropped before them the effulgent form of daytime, and the demigods sportingly took possession of it. Purport. Demons were born from the creation of night, and the demigods were born from the creation of day. In other words, the demons like Yakshas and Rakshasas are born of the quality of ignorance, and the demigods are born of the quality of goodness. Hare Krishna.
When we are saying all this creation is happening, Brahmaji is creating the bodies based on the living entities' desires. That, as we have seen, that how Garbhasai Vishnu impregnating all the living entities. So according to their desires, according to their propensities, swabhava. So that's why he is creating different patterns, different bodies, and living entities are taking position in them. So it's not because of their desires only, under the supervision of Supreme Lord he is creating. So that's how they are all different. The manifestations are happening, like demigods and yakshas and rakshasas. So many varieties of living entities. Though we may not be able to understand, but that's how the creation happened. Some things which are not befitting into our uh, logic or intelligence may come up now. So which are very, very, very contrasting to our understanding. But still, Yeah, these are all natures of the living entity who is perverted in nature. That enjoying mentality, that consciousness, definitely the consciousness, the soul having consciousness is always pure. But when it's contaminated, when it's impure, and then it takes various forms. So that's how these forms are being created for them. Devo devan jagan jaganatah सृजति स्माति लोलुपान् तेनं लोलुपतया मैथुनायाभिपेदिरे.
Krishna. Translation. Lord Brahma then gave birth to the demons from his buttocks, and they were very fond of sex. Because they were too lustful, they approached him for copulation.
So here Brahmaji, the demons are demons born, they are very incited by lust. So they even attacked him. So that's the Prabhupada explains about how it's so sinful. But that's the nature of them. Then Brahmaji became so. First of all, he laughed at their stupidity. We will read this one, and then he became angry, and then he became afraid also. Then he was running to the Lord for shelter. All these people are so gone out of their, they became insane. First, this adamant desire. Lust is basically an adamant desire to fulfill our own things, our own desires, especially here the gross form of identification. Of course, we will read that part also, that where when the consciousness is very much identifying with the gross senses, the body level, when the consciousness comes down to the body level and very much attached to the body level, then all these urges develop. As Bhaktivedanta Thakur mentions in Anuvritti commentary, you might have read in NOI, where he mentions that all these urges, in the first verse, he mentions that all the urges are arising because of the identification of the body. So when the consciousness comes down to the body level, all these kaya, manasa, vacha urges develop. So similarly here, the consciousness is so low about these people. They are even attacking Brahmaji, which is very contrary to the nature itself. He's been attacked in the, for copulation. So what Brahmaji does, let us see. ततोह संस भगवान असुरैर्निरपत्रपैः अन्वीयमानस्तरसा क्रुद्धो भीत परापतत्.
Hare Krishna. Translation. The worshipful Brahma first laugh at their stupidity, but finding the shameless asuras close upon him, he grew indignant and ran in general haste out of fear. For what?
Indignant. Yeah, he reiterated, outraged, indignant. Yeah.
For what? Sexually inclined demons have no respect even for their father. And the best policy for saintly father like Brahma is to leave such demonic sons. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, when the senses, when the consciousness gets down to the body level, when the urges are very strong, then one doesn't care about anything, even socially, or it doesn't insane become one becomes insane to even think about social relationships. Even Below Mangal Thakur, of course, he became great, wonderful devotee later on. But it is said that about that Chintamani's story, he is unable to do the rites for his father. He was attending his father's Shraddha ceremony, not Shraddha ceremony, I think his final rites, Antim Sanskars. but he was infatuated so much that he wanted to run back very fast to meet Chintamani. So that day only it happened that that the paradigm shift in his consciousness. He was he came, and of course there is a long story that how he was crossing the rivers by catching carps and getting on the walls by catching snake and etc etc. But when he did all those things, and Chintamani said, "Hey, if we had this much only great attraction towards Lord, how it could have been? How you? I mean, what a great devotee you might have been." So when she said that, that's it. He ran from there itself towards Vrindavan. Yeah, that's the infatuation. Of course, later on also again some infatuation came. Because he has that sincerity and dedication and great devotion to Lord, he could overcome all those things and became. Prabhupada writes that somewhere in purport only that he lived around 600 or 700 years in Vrindavan. Mangal Thakur, and his famous Krishna Karunamrita, I think. He wrote a beautiful book that was referred by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Krishna
Prabhuji,
Karunamrita.
which age he was in? Like 600 years he lived?
Hi, that's what Prabhupada mentioned. I don't know the age exactly which era he belongs to, but he wrote, you can just below Mangal Thakur, if you put, I think CC, I think purport he wrote this one. You can just check later. Below Mangal Thakur, you can search the word. But which era,
Okay.
he didn't mention anything, but he mentioned like that. Yeah, that's the infatuation basically. It's very, one becomes insane. Yeah, these demons are also attacking the Brahmaji itself. So Brahmaji became a little angry. Let us see what he's doing. Sa upavraja varadam prapanna haram harim anugrahaya bhaktaram anurupatma darshanam.
He approves the personality of Godhead, who bestows all boons and dispels the agony of his devotees and of those who take shelter of his lotus feet. He manifests his innumerable transcendental forms for the satisfaction of his devotees. Here, the words Bhaktanam Anupatma Darshanam means that the personality of Godhead manifests his multi-forms according to the desires of the devotees.
Yeah, so here, so Brahmaji, once they attacked, so immediately he took shelter of the Lords. That's the nature of a devotee. That shows this is the hallmark of a devotee. Anytime there is a danger, he always thinks about the Lord. He always prays to the Lord. He always takes shelter of the Lord. In first canto also, when Arjuna was attacked, or Pandavas were attacked by Ashwatthama with his what is that called? Brahmastras. Then immediately Arjuna did Achaman and circumambulated the Lord and praying to the Lord first. And he offered 3-4 prayers are there, and then he expressed his whatever confusion, or he wanted to know what is happening. So even all the stalwarts devotees, they take immediately they take shelter of the Lord. So it's not that they are fearless. I mean, they are fearless definitely, but more than that, they know when fear strikes, where to take shelter. They are not fearless like Mayavadis or like those people who say that, oh, I don't fear about death at all. I don't have any fear for anything in life. Even death can come. Even anyone can do anything to me. I don't fear. Yeah, definitely, just like Socrates was given poison. He had no fear at all. Oh, let me drink, no problem, because I am not the body at all. So that level of fear, that kind of realization where I am not the body, I am self, is one level. But that is not the ultimate realization where we are as the devotees. We are seeking that our fearlessness is in taking shelter of the Lord. Whatever may happen. That's That's the nature of devotee. So here Brahmaji is immediately taking shelter of the Lord. And that's what he mentioned, that Anurupatma Darshanam. Prabhupada focused on that one word, one phrase. Because the Lord takes different forms according to the desires of the devotees. Bhaktanam Anurupa Atma Darshanam. So Prabhupada gave elaborate purport on that one point, that how different forms are taken by the desires of the devotee. Hanumanji, Lord Ram, other Vaishnavas, Radha Krishna, other devotees, Lakshmi Narayan. So then when Mayavadis are saying that, they may raise the objection that although these forms are assumed by the Lord, just as the devotees desire to see him, actually he is impersonal. That's their understanding. Last time also we discussed that how these Mayavadis say the Brahman is there, and that one Brahman, impersonal, limitless, unlimited, Chinmay Swarup, Anadi, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam. Of course, that is for Supreme Lord form also, but they mention about this impersonal form. So, but when they say that when it's covered by mode of goodness, then all the avatars manifest. When Brahman is covered by mode of passion, all the living entities manifest. And when Brahman is covered by mode of ignorance, all the matter manifests. That's how they explain the existence, the so-called existence, Vyavaharika, of this world. So, but when finally they say, oh, though we are saying all these are appearing or manifesting, but they are all illusion only. They are all illusion. Ultimately, only Brahman is Satyam. So that's how they explain about how Brahman is covered by Maya in different modes, 3 modes. But here Prabhupada mentioning about how our scriptures explain Brahma Samhita and Bhagavatam, he quotes. It's not at all like that. The Supreme Lord's form is the highest thing. That's how even all the Atmaramas Manayo, Nirgandra Pivurukrame, Purvanti Haitukim Bhaktim, Ittam Buddha Guno Harihi, how they are also attracted to the Supreme Lord. So that's how devotees put forward the arguments. And also one more thing is that in Upanishads he explains in the first verse, Purnamatah Purnamidam. Lord has to be complete. So when you are saying complete, so you cannot deny the existence of the form. Right? Now when you say it doesn't have any form, then it's sort of incompleteness. So that's how we can also put forward the argument that he has to be complete. Both has to be true. Savishesh and Nirvishesh of manifestation of the absolute truth. So that's and of course both of the between two, the Savishesh or the Vishesh Swarupa is the top. That's how 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is the main first few half of the section. Arjuna asked the same question: which is the better, either impersonal Brahmajyoti or the personal form? What is the better worship? So there, that we can refer immediately. Any argument or comment comes in between. So Krishna clearly establishes there that so the worship of the supreme form is the topmost. So that's how Prabhupada also referring various quotations and scriptures. Prabhupada concludes here. Read the conclusion.
Conclusion: the words Bhaktanam Anupatma Darshanam means that the Lord is always pleased to favor the devotee in the particular form in which the devotee wants to worship and render service unto him.
Continue.
Yeah. Whom Lord Brahma is approaching. In this verse, it is stated that Brahma approached Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This form of the Lord is Shirodakshai Vishnu. Whenever there is some trouble and Brahma has to approach the Lord, he can approach Shirodakshai Vishnu. And it is the grace of the Lord that whenever Brahma approaches about disturbances in the universe, the Lord gives them relief in so many ways.
So Brahmaji approaching Ikshuru Sai Vishnu, the Svetdeep that is there in the middle world, milk ocean, there she goes, and with all the demigods, whenever there is trouble with all the demigods, they go there and they pray to the Lord. And sometimes he may appear to Brahmaji. Also, many times they may not be able to see, they may only hear what Lord has to say. Sometimes Lord may appear to Brahmaji only. So according to the situation, he reciprocates to Brahmaji and Devatas. But Brahmaji, approaching Brahmaji authority is the main crux of what we are reading now. When there is a trouble, when there is a difficulty, we need to take shelter. Though we may be capable sometimes, even for material field also, doctors themselves cannot treat themselves or their relatives. They have to approach some other authorities in the medical field. It's even a law in the medical field that they cannot treat themselves. They should definitely approach some other doctor. So that's how it's we need to approach. Though we may know everything in and out, Gita, Bhagavatam, CC, we might have definitely practicing for many years, and still everyone needs guidance. Everyone needs some authority, some guru. So that's the fundamental to bhakti itself. Bhakti process itself means that we are under someone. Even when we are practicing, even when we are perfected also. That's the devotional service. Servant of the servant of servants. Right? So though he achieved prema just by taking a dip in Padma river, still he was asked to be under someone by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. And for that, what not he did, he was so determined to be under Loknath Goswami. Definitely, you might have heard many stories. So, to that extent, he went up to the point where he was cleaning the excrements of his spiritual master for 1 year. That was the morning program for him. For 1 year, just to be accepted by Loknath Goswami. Though he achieved the success of what we recite every day, that after 10 offenses is also an offense to be an interval chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against all these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prem. After achieving Krishna Prem, what is the goal? So that Narottama Das Thakur is showing. Though he achieved Krishna Prem, so but still that's the crux of bhakti, that we are under someone always. So Brahmaji is showing that how we need to approach authority, whomever we may be. And of course, especially when difficulties come, all the time definitely we need to approach for not only sharing the troubles. Generally, that's the tendency whenever trouble comes, whenever some difficulty comes in life, either spiritual life or in material life, occupational life, we immediately take shelter. But otherwise, also we need to always try to report, try to ask, inquire, pariprashnena sevaya. That's the nature of devotional service. Then we will advance very swiftly. So Brahmaji approaching Supreme Father, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then he's asking here, Pahimam Paramatmamste Preshaneshasrajam Prajaha Taimam Yabhitum Papa Upakramanti Mam Prabho.
Lord Brahma, approaching the Lord, addressed him thus: My Lord, please protect me from these sinful demons who were created by me under your order. They are infuriated by an appetite for sex and have come to attack me.
Yeah, so Prabhupada explaining about how though they are males, but still they are attacking me. Lord Brahma is complaining to Supreme Lord. The Prabhupada writing about homosexual appetite for males. It's coming from this episode of Brahmaji, but it's very insane. It's demoniac in nature. So then one should not. This is This is not at all a proper etiquette for human, at least for humans. Even for animals also, they don't have any kind of propensities. It's all the episode from this episode Prabhupada referring. It's all demoniac in nature. Of course, this became quite a law in US and other countries that they can marry a man, can marry a man, but it's quite contrary to principles of Vedic understanding. Okay, that's a demonic mentality because that's the Kali Yuga, that's the when people are given more and more facilities to advance in spiritual life, but when they unable to use the intelligence in a proper way, all these demonic tendencies come up. Text 27. त्वमेकः किल लोकानां क्लिष्टानां क्लेशनाशनः त्वमेकः क्लेशतस्तेषाम् अनासन्नपदां तव.
My Lord, you are the only one capable of ending the affliction of the distressed and inflicting agony on those who never resort to your feet.
The words kleshatastesham
Anasannapadam tava indicate that the Lord has two concerns. The first is to give protection to persons who take shelter of his lotus feet, and the second is to give trouble to those who are always demonic and who are inimical towards the Lord. Maya's function is to give afflictions to the non-devotees. Here Brahma said, "You are the protector of the surrender souls. Therefore, I surrender unto your lotus feet. Please give me protection from these demons."
So the Brahmaji is glorifying the Lord that kleshatastesham anasannapadam tava. So first concern is give protection to persons, the devotees who take shelter of him. And another thing is he mentioned about give trouble to those who are always demoniac. Okay. So that's how he is in the sense, of course, Lord giving trouble in the sense he is trying to bring back to normal condition, just like prisoners are given punishment, patients are given medicine or surgery. So that is, the purpose is not to give kind of a trouble or difficulty to them, but the purpose is to bring them back to a normal condition, either case. So Prabhupada mentioning one statement that Maya's function is to give affliction to non-devotees. So does it not mean okay, let us put it another way, that whether it means that Maya doesn't give affliction to devotees? Prabhupada writes here, Maya's function is to give affliction to the non-devotees. So question is whether Maya gives affliction to devotees or not. What do you say? So we always say that Maya is troubling us, right? Maya is always affecting me. I am in Maya. Yes. So you can speak.
I have one question. The question
Okay.
is that basically those who are giving trouble to others, but really they are in such ignorance that they are not aware that they are giving trouble to others.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, what you made this point is correct. Yeah, they are not aware that sometimes they are not aware, surely. Not all the times. Just like all these people, assassination people, or those who are trying to attack military, what is called terrorists and all. They know that they are going to give trouble to all the innocent people also. But they're covered so much, they're covered over so much, they are unable to perceive that kind of a pain of others and change their ways. Sometimes we may not know that when we are walking on the road, so we are completely unaware under feet. Some ants may be there sometimes, some insects may be there when you are running, when you are lighting a fire, etc. Or doing any other activities. Yeah, we don't know. We are voluntarily giving trouble to others. That's one thing, and that's why there is a Vedic custom to do Panchasuna yajnas, especially by Grahastha. And of course, by chanting Holy Names of the Lord, we are trying to Not voluntarily we are trying to mitigate the sin committed by us, but there's a you cannot live only without doing all this drinking water or lighting a fire, etc. But here it's mentioned, especially the question, especially here that yeah, we may not voluntarily giving troubles. Sometimes people know that they are going to give trouble, but still they take pleasure in that. That's a demoniac. So your question will be?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the yes. You have questions? Do you have questions? Yes, Madhavi, please speak.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam. Prabhuji, actually, I heard your question that Maya is giving afflictions to the devotees also.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. What is your answer?
Prabhuji, my answer is that Maya is giving afflictions to every living entity in this material world, but it's about our consciousness, how we perceive it.
Yeah. Good point. How, yeah, the perspective we need to see how, yeah, good point. How we need to see it. Any other sharing, any other want to mention? Any other devotees want to share? Maya's function is to give affliction to the non-devotees mentioned here. So the point he also mentioned that, yeah, Maya can give, Maya and will give to devotees also, but the perspective will be different of devotees. It's a good point. Yeah, Prabhupada mentions in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto in Bhisma section, very beautiful lines that he brings this aspect of how Maya is inflicting pain and on everyone. Sufferings will come to everyone. But how a devotee sees that one. Can someone read this point?
A karmi suffers the result of his own fruitive reactions, whereas a devotee is reformed by chastisement directed by the Lord Himself. The sufferings of an orphan and the sufferings of a beloved child of a king are not one and the same. An orphan is really poor because he has no one to take care of him, but a beloved son of a rich man, although he appears to be on the same level as the orphan, is always under the vigilance of his capable father.
Yeah. So the point, the same explained is little bit more. Very beautiful points mentioned by Prabhupada here. That words are very profound here. A karmi suffers the results of his own fruitive actions, whereas a devotee is reformed by the chastisement directed by the Lord Himself. So though it may be appearing the same, just like a diseased person, two persons who have a disease, same disease, they may be suffering the same symptoms right now. But one has a proper doctor who is taking up a direction and following the doctor, and one doesn't have any doctor at all. He's not willing to take help of the doctor, surrender to the doctor at all. But though externally they may appear to be the same, but in due course of time, one will be cured, one will be reformed. So that's the aspect we need to. A devotee understanding is that, yeah, this is chastisement directed by Lord Himself. It's not about Maya. So it's like Prabhupada also brought out a very beautiful example. Orphan and sufferings of a beloved child of a king are not the one and the same. So he's under the capable father. So that's the Maya's function is to give affliction to everyone, definitely, not only devotees. But a perspective of a devotee, he doesn't see Maya, he always sees Krishna. In fact, it's Krishna's hands only. The moment one surrenders to Guru, one surrenders to Krishna sincerely. So Krishna, it's in all in Krishna's hand. That's the one of the six limbs of surrender, Sharanagati. That's the devotee always feels that Krishna is my only maintainer, Krishna is only my protector. So that's the nature of a devotee. That's what very beautiful point Prabhupada is bringing out, that the quality of the Lord, that he gives protection to persons, and he gives trouble in the sense to reform out of love only. Mother slaps the child when child doesn't listen. It's also out of love, but in a different form. Though the child doesn't understand immediately, it's quite difficult to understand for the child to comprehend what is happening in that situation. But it's still out of that concern only, mother slaps the child. So Brahmaji approached, and he's glorifying, and first of all, he's taking shelter of the Lord for the difficulties or for the unknown troubles that came in between his service, unexpected things that happened in his service. So he was little bewildered and took shelter of the Lord. So he's continuing. Then Lord is replying to him. So avadharyasya karpanyam viviktadhyatma vimunchatmatanam ghoram ityukto vimumochaha.
Translation: The Lord, who can distinctly see the minds of others, perceived Brahma's distress and said to him, "Cast off this impure body of yours." Thus commanded by the Lord, Brahma cast off his body.
Continue.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord is described here by the word Viviktadhyatma Darshanaha. If anyone can completely perceive another's distress without doubt, it is the Lord Himself. If someone is in distress and wants to get relief from his friend, sometimes it so happens that his friend does not appreciate the volume of distress he is suffering. But for the Supreme Lord, it is not difficult. The Supreme Lord, as Paramatma, is sitting within the heart of every living entity, and he directly perceives the exact cause of distress. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Sarvasya chaham hriday snivastaha. I am sitting in everyone's heart, and because of me, one's remembrance and forgetfulness occur. Thus,
So yeah, thank
thus
you.
whenever one fully surrenders onto the Supreme Lord, one finds that he is sitting within one's heart.
Yeah. So here, Supreme Lord himself is he's addressing the Lord. Cast off this impure body of yours. That's he perceived. Prabhupada is focused on perceived Brahmaji's distress. So that's one of the main point Prabhupada is bringing out, that to find out the distress of others, it's quite impossible to. Just like a baby is suffering, let's baby is crying in the midnight, and can't figure out, mother and parents can't figure out why this fellow is crying. Whether he's hungry, whether he's paining, whether some ants are biting or some mosquitoes biting. It's quite difficult to, because they can't express, and yeah, parents can't understand. So not only in children, but in anyone's life also, it's quite difficult to understand what the cause of the distress or the distress itself, to find out external point of view. It's quite difficult. But here Prabhupada is bringing out that, yeah, the Supreme Lord definitely knows. A friend does not appreciate the volume of distress is suffering. The volume of suffering, all of distress, how much we are suffering. It's very difficult to. That's what they also mentions in English, a phrase that the shoe that bites one, I think fits one. I don't remember exactly. Anybody remembers that phrase? Knows that phrase, that yeah, we, unless we put ourselves in other shoes, we can't understand their pain. It's called empathy, and sympathy and empathy are quite different words. Sympathy we can show. Empathy means when we are putting ourselves in their situation, even if we put ourselves in their situation also, it's quite difficult to understand. But still, at least we're able to understand a little bit. But only Lord can understand what is going on in our hearts and lives. And we need to take shelter of the Lord. That's the main point Prabhupada is bringing out, how Supreme Lord is perceived Brahmaji's distress. And he mentioned that you cast off this body, impure body. So the Lord, however, asked Brahma to give up his present body because it had created the demonic principle. According to Srila Swami, Brahma's constant dropping of his body doesn't refer to his actual giving up his body. Rather, he suggests that Brahma gave up a particular mentality. Mind is the subtle body of the living entity. We may sometimes be absorbed in some thought which is sinful, but if we give up that sinful thought, it may be said that we give up the body. Brahma's mind was not in correct order when he created the demons. Yeah. So here Prabhupada and Sridhar Swami is bringing out a very subtle aspect that Brahma, when Lord said to give up the body, he didn't commit suicide. Right? I mean, giving up gross body is a committing suicide. But Brahmaji gave up subtle body in the sense that he gave up mentality, means he is reforming. He is reforming. Just like we also, that when, as Prabhupada himself is mentioning, mind has so many thoughts. So whenever some impure thoughts creep in, pop in, so immediately give up. So just like a tree is there, when tree is there, it's natural that birds will come and sit. But one should not allow the birds to make a nest on the tree. The sinful birds will come and sit on the tree of mind or the tree of the body. But we should not let the birds make a nest on our minds or on our bodies, basically. And then we need to flee them. We need to, by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So by constantly chanting the holy names, that's how Rupa Swami also mentions. When we are clapping in kirtans and in the bhajans, so all the sinful words that are coming and sitting on our minds and our bodies will be thrown off, they'll flew away. So that's the nature of the mind, that's the nature of the sinful thoughts. But we need to Prajahati yadagaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha sita prajnastadochate. The first thing, the first qualification of sita prajna means, it doesn't mean that one doesn't have any thoughts at all, and the sinful thoughts. So the thoughts will pop up. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. But that fellow is the sita prajna, and who constantly prajahati gives up Ada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. So the qualification is not that one doesn't have any sinful thoughts, but it is the qualification is the right, and then immediately he throws off all the sinful. He gives up. Immediately it comes back. Resonance, or not resonance, it's called resilience. Sorry, it's a resilience, the art of resilience. Coming to the right position, original position, coming back, bouncing back. So that shows the sincerity, that shows the seriousness of spiritual practice or serious sadhaka.
Prabhuji,
So
what
yeah,
is this verse? What is the number of this verse? Prajahati Adakama?
2.56, 55 or 56. When Arjuna asked the
Okay.
question, first verse, how Krishna replies, 55 or 56. 2.55. So here, so the qualification itself, Krishna is giving a great hope that Satapragya is the one who gives up all the unwanted desires that are popping up, coming out of the mind. So that's I don't know how many of you visited in Tirupati temple. In Tirupati ISKCON, there's a very intricate construction on the top. So when I visited that one, they kept an employee that a great, a very strange kind of service. That employee, that staff, he has to just stay on the terrace of the temple hall, and he has a stick, and the end of the stick with he has a rope, and for the rope there are so many plastic bottles. The rope has so many plastic bottles are tied to the rope, and the rope is tied to the stick, and the stick was held by this person, and he keeps on going around the terrace and keeps on making the sound on the terrace walls, because so many pigeons come and stay inside the intricate carvings and intricate designs, and murtis are formed around the temple. All they make all kinds of dirt, and they make nests and all those things, making a mess. So they kept a staff just to make the sound, going around and make the sound with plastic bottles, uh, uh, so that the birds will not come and stay for long. So that's how we also need to constantly chant the holy names to stop the sinful birds come and stay in our trees and make nests and spoil our minds. That's what Prabhupada is mentioning here. We need to give up the mentality immediately. Thereby we give up the demonic mentality. So that's the main meaning of the Lord is saying that we give up the mentality, not the gross body. Okay, we'll continue. So basically Brahmaji is taking shelter and Lord gave a solution, and Brahmaji is sincere to take up. Text 29. So when he gave up that mentality, what happened? Tvam Kvanaccharanam Bhojam Mada Vihvala Lochanam Kanchi Kalapa Vilasat Dukula Channa Rodasam. Next devotee continue.
The body given up by Brahma took the form of the evening twilight, when the day and night meet, a time which kindles passion. The asuras, who are passionate by nature, dominated as they are by the element of rajas, took it for a damsel whose lotus feet resounded with the tinkling of anklets, whose eyes were wide with intoxication, and whose hips were covered by fine cloth, over which shone a girdle.
Yeah. So here when Brahmaji gave up the subtle body, the demons who are born, so they took it as a form of a beautiful woman. So that's how here, that's the nature of passion. They are thinking that she is a woman, though it's evening twilight. Yeah, here Prabhupada mentioning about as early morning is a period for spiritual cultivation, the beginning of evening is a period for passion. So that's how they took it up as a beautiful woman, and they are bewildered by this manifestation of the evening twilight. So given the body given by Brahma took the form of evening twilight. So the subtle body took the form of evening twilight when day and night meets. Asuras, who are passionate by nature, dominated as they are by element of rajas. So the asuras, the demons, they are trying to take this form, this evening twilight, as a woman. One or two verses we'll skip. Maybe you can go through. They are a little bit more of a description of womanly form. Yeah. Uhantim vridayatmanam nilalaka varuthinim upalabhyasura dharma sarve sammuhu striyam.
Adorned with dark dresses, she hid herself as it were out of shyness. Upper seeing the great girl, the asuras were all infected with an appropriate portrait.
Read the points.
Just as a child is attracted by a beautiful doll, similarly, a demon who is less intelligent and full of ignorance is attracted by materially beautiful and appropriate gossip.
So here, so they are thinking, they are imagining that here is a beautiful girl and she is trying to hide herself and she is making various gestures, etc. So that's how they were infatuated by the so-called imaginary form. There is nothing at there is no form at all, but they are just imagining there in the minds. So that's the nature of demons. Prabhupada expressing here. The difference between demons and demigods is that a beautiful woman very easily attracts the minds of demons, but she cannot attract the mind of godly person. A godly person is full of knowledge, and a demonic person is full of ignorance. So that's the Prabhupada brought out a beautiful example. Child is generally innocent and also less intelligent. Right? Innocence is okay, definitely, but child is less intelligent generally, as Prabhupada brought out here as a similar demon who is less intelligent and full of ignorance. Yeah, child also is ignorant, is innocent also, definitely, but he is a little bit full of ignorance and less intelligent, childish. So they are all attracted by material beauty and they are attracted by the form of evening twilight. Yeah, read this one.
One, one who is attracted by the beauty of Radha and Krishna cannot be attracted by the false beauty of this material world. That is the difference between a demon and a godly person or devotee.
Yeah. So last time also, as we mentioned one point that the world is pointing to Krishna, but we are missing the point of Krishna. So the world, with all its beauty or its charm, with its intelligence, yeah, all the people are the nature. They have all the six appliances are just one fragment. That's what we read in sixth chapter of Gita. That everything is a spark of splendor, right? Now Krishna's spark of splendor. That's how everything is shining because of Krishna's spark is there. Either someone is beautiful, someone is very educated, very talented, very skillful, very wonderful in his management, or any very beautiful in singing, very beautiful in art, or in making garlands, or decorations, or cooking, or whatever we take. All these are all spark of Krishna's splendor. But when we identify with our body or with our subtle body, and we automatically identify others with their bodies and with their subtle bodies, and we miss the point of Krishna's empowerment. That's where we miss the point of Krishna. So in Gita's 13th chapter also, that when one who perceives the super soul within everyone, he is not degraded by the mind. 13.29, Krishna mentions this word, this point, that one who one who sees the super soul everywhere, he will not be degraded by the mind, because he understands, yeah, this is all Krishna's reflection, Krishna's opulence. So Stavara Jangama Deki Na Deki Tara Murti Sarvatra Hoibe Tara Ishtadeva Spurti. So a devotee whose consciousness is so pure, so elevated, Stavara Jangama Deki Na Deki Tara Murti. He doesn't see the Stavara Jangam moving and non-moving and their forms. Sarvatra Hoibe Ishtadeva Spurti. So Ishtadev, his own beloved Radha and Krishna or Sri Ram or whoever it may be, or his own beloved Lord, he only seeing that. He's only seeing, just like Prahlad Maharaj. Hey Prahlad, what are you seeing? Where is your Narsim? Where is your Vishnu? He didn't know about Narsimhadev till that time. Where is your Vishnu? He's there in the pillar. He's there in here. The Prahlad was seeing everywhere. Right now, that's how he is practically seeing everywhere. So that's how they Preman Janachurati Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. That's the nature of devotion. He always sees the Krishna's beauty. He doesn't see the false beauty. So when we are saying these verses, definitely because they are spoken by Maitreya to Vidura, and the female form is expressed here, but it's both for Prabhupada also mentions later purports. The illusion is for a man for woman and a woman for man, both. So So one should be very careful in terms of getting into illusion, thinking that the objects of pleasure can satisfy me eternally here in this mental world. No, we cannot be. That's proper point here, that we need to redirect our attraction towards Supreme Lord. Of course, 3-4 verses it continues how the demons are just imagining themselves first, and they are also addressing to that beautiful girl about they are asking questions. So that continues to 3-4 verses. Let us see. अहो रूपम अहो धैर्यम अहो अस्यानवं वयः मध्ये कामयामानं कामयामानानाम् अकामेव विसर्पति. Continue.
The demons praised her. Oh, what a beauty, what are self-control, what a building you in the midst of us all, who are passionately longing for her. She is moving about like one absolutely free from passion.
So they are only seeing, Vishnu Jagatar explains various things to, he compares to various things that are compared here. I mean, when he's saying about twilight, so in the twilight means what we see? We see the sky, we see the clouds, we see sun, we see, I mean, twilight is almost like a evening time. We see sun, we see clouds, dark clouds, sometimes black clouds, white clouds, and all this, and birds are chirping in the evening. So all this he compares to different things are expressed here in these verses. So basically, he compares the evening to the woman forms, what is expressed here in that sense. He compares to all the sounds that are twinkling, etc., are compared to birds chirping in the evening, and all the comparison is given there by Vishnu Chakrathakur. How they are bewildered and they are addressing to that kind of form. Vitarkayanto bahudha tam sandhyam pramadakritim abhisambhavya vishrambhat paryaprachan kumedasaha.
Indulging in various speculations about the evening twilight, which appeared to them endowed with the form of a young woman, the wicked-minded Asuras treated her with respect and fondly spoke to her as follows.
They are now thinking and they are speaking now. Kashikasyasi rambhoru ovardhaste atra bhamini rupadravina panyena turbhagano vibhadase.
Who are you, O pretty girl? Whose wife or daughter are you? And what can be the object of your appearing before us? Why do you tantalize us for unfortunate as we are with the priceless commodity of your beauty?
Yeah, continue. 3 lines.
The mentality of the demons in being enamored with the false beauty of this material world is expressed herein. The demonic can pay any price of the skin beauty of this material world.
So that's how they are trying to address her. Yava kachit kamavale dishtya sandarshanam tava utsunokshi kshamananam panduka kridaya manaha. Yeah.
Whosoever you may be, O beautiful girl, we are fortunate in being able to see you while playing with a ball. You have agitated the minds of all onlookers.
Onlookers, so they are imagining that she is playing a ball and she is agitating the minds of the demons. They are thinking like that. But Vishnu Chakrathakur mentions it's the setting sun. The setting sun is considered like a ball, like a red ball. So that's what that's what comment by Vishnu Chakrathakur, that they thought the sun itself is a ball, and all the different manifestations of the clouds, different manifestations of the clouds compared to woman, that she is playing with the sun. They thought that she is playing with the red ball. Here you read the highlight portion, Prabhupada saying.
The difference between material and spiritual enjoyment is that material enjoyment is limited. Even if a man engages in material sex enjoyment, he cannot enjoy it for long. But when the sex enjoyment is given up, then one can enter spiritual life, which is unending. In the
Yeah.
Bhagavatam 5.51, it is stated that Brahma Saukya, spiritual happiness, is Ananta, unending. Foolish creatures are enamored with the beauty of matter and think that the enjoyment is offers is real, but actually that is not real enjoyment.
Yeah, sure. Though not real enjoyment, how we need to be careful about the false enjoyments of this world. Prabhupada many times mentions about this aspect of Shreyas and Preyas. Shreyas means is a long-term benefits. Shreyas and Preyas is short-term benefits, short-term enjoyments, long-term enjoyment. Brahma Saukyam is a Anantam is unending and it's eternal. So that's how we need to be seeking the permanent, long-lasting enjoyments. Yeah, these are slokas. Some you can read yourself. Some slokas. Iti sayantanim sandhyam asura pramad pramadayatim pralobhayantim jagrur matva mudadhiya striyam.
The asuras, clouded in their understanding, took the evening twilight to be a beautiful woman showing herself in her alluring form, and they seized her.
Continue.
The asuras are described here as Mugdha Dhiya, meaning that they are captivated by ignorance, just like the demons were captivated by the false, glaring beauty of this material form, and thus they embrace.
Yeah. So first, initially, the Yakshas and Rakshasas, they attacked Brahmaji, and then he approached the Supreme Lord. He prayed to Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord mentioned that you give up this mentality. When he gave up that mentality, it became twilight, and then Asura's section came. Asura section means Asura's trying to understand it's a beautiful woman, and it was described a little bit more here in this section. And Asuras even addressed her, kind of addressing her, talking to her, etc. So basically they are taking the demons are taking great inspiration in the twilight. That's the main section that Brahmaji gave up. So I think that same point here mentioned. Yeah. Yeah, basically from this Prabhupada also mentioning about how we need to be coming out of this attraction between male and female. That's the main aspect of the section, that one should not be enamored by this attraction, though it's very, very, very tough and very strong in everyone. So we need to constantly keeping our hearts and minds pure so that we come out of all these attractions, which is very strong. So that's the main root is explained as I explained here. Anurti commentary, he explains that identification with the body itself produces all these urges. That identification of the body, that avidya, that what we mentioned, that avidya itself is the main source of producing all these urges. Three levels of urges, so kaya manasa vacha. So that we need to be uprooting ourselves, identifying with ourselves more and more with the servant of the Lord, and praying to the Lord for purifying our hearts. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaje. So we always pray to the Lord that we not be attracted by any things of this world, but alone at your lotus feet. Let me attracted only by your lotus feet. And also there is a beautiful verse that how we cannot get rid of this the consciousness which is stuck at the body level or even the subtle level. We cannot buy all external things, only by the attachment to the lotus feet of the Lord. That is beautifully expressed here in one of the slokas. I think this is Rupa Swami compilation, but the verse, I don't know whether he composed it or he compiled it, but it's from Padyavali. He's saying here that Kamadinam katina katidha palita durnideshas Tesham jata mayi na karuna na trapa no pashanti Utsrejatan ata yadupate sampratam labda buddhis Tvamayatah sharanam abhayam ma yunkshatmadasye. He's saying here, so Kamadinam, Kama and Adi, all the 6 things, the enemies, I served them so much. Life after life, I served them, my dear Lord. Yatupate, oh my dear Lord, Yatupati, I served all these 6 enemies, life after life, millions of life. How you served? Katina Katida, Palita, Durnideshas. Though they are like Durnideshas, they are thankless masters. But I served them in different ways and different kinds. In all different means, I served them. But still, Tesham Jata Mai unto me, in them, na karuna, neither mercy, not trapa, nor satisfaction, no pashanti, not satiation. So nothing is born in them. He's saying to that. He's saying that no compassion on me, no daya on me, not born in them. In them, in sense, he's addressing to the Lord. Is saying, he's complaining to the Lord. He's complaining to the Lord that there is no mercy on me in them. So that's how he's praying that, my dear Lord, now I am giving up all these things. Utsrijetan atayadupate. Right now, recently, Sampratam, Labdha Buddhi, I achieved little bit intelligence. Recently, I awakened to little bit intelligence. So let me, Tvamaya Ataha, I came to you. For what? Sharanam and Abhayam. I came to take shelter of you. And also for fearlessness. I seek these two. I seek shelter and also I seek fearlessness. Mam, Niyungshat Madasya, please engage me in your service. So that's how a devotee is always expressing to the Lord that I am begging some mercy, that please save me under these conditions. There is one more beautiful verse I missed, I think, here that that says that how one can get rid of this attraction. He says, there is a beautiful verse also. Kashaya nacha bhojanadi niyaman no va vane vasato. There he says that by wearing saffron, by having rules and regulations, for following Chaturmasya, following all the rules and regulations in eating, nacha bhojanadi niyaman no va vane vasato, even staying in the forest for long, no va vane vasato. Vyakhyana tatava munivratabara chittodbhava kshiyate. Vyakhyana, by giving great sermons. Oh, this attraction is like this, we should be detached, we should be beyond all these attractions. By giving great discourses, one cannot overcome. That's what the verse is saying. And he's saying that Munivrata by great determined vows, that one cannot overcome. Chittodbhava kshiyate, you cannot diminish this Chittodbhava, the attraction between the male and female. But by how? How to overcome then? Kintu spita kalindi shaila tanaya tireshu vikridato. But yeah, one is there. Govindasya padara vinda bhajana arambhasya leshatapi. Yeah, by starting Govindasya padara vinda bhajana arambhasya leshatapi, even lesh, if you start getting attracted towards lotus feet of Govinda, then the one who is sporting on the banks of the Yamuna, Spita Kalindi Shailatanaya Tireshu Vikridato, one who is sporting on the banks of Yamuna, So onto that lotus feet of the Govinda, when we develop a little bit of attraction, then one can definitely give up all this
Prabhuji, this verse we
attraction.
can't see.
It's I didn't I thought of putting, but unable to. I could not put. Somehow I slipped my mind. I'll post it.
Yes, Prabhuji, it's a treasure. Please post it.
I'll post it now. I'll just referring to folio. That's a beautiful verse. Actually, that's what I wanted to put, but somehow this verse came into picture. In my mind that was there. Somehow it became this one. But anyway, this is also a beautiful verse. That verse is a very great hope that. One more verse also, where King Kulshekar is praying. I'll just put that one. King Kulshekar Alvar also, where he's expressing his own humility, how much he was. He's expressing here. You can read the translation. Someone can read translation.
Oh
Oh
Lord, the
Lord,
powerful thieves of my senses have blinded me. Gone, Prabhuji.
Oh, really? Okay.
The comment was there, but not visible now.
Yeah, you're able to see now?
Oh Lord, the powerful thieves of my senses have blinded me by stealing my most precious possession, my discrimination, and they have thrown me deep into the pitch dark well of delusion. Please, O Lord of Lords, extend your hands and save this wretched soul.
It's a beautiful verse. They are like thieves. They are stealing my consciousness. Andhasya me hrita viveka mahadhanasya mahadhan. Our viveka is mahadhan, but these people, they are chore. They are like thieves. They are stealing my great treasure of my discrimination, my chitta, my dhana. And also not only stealing, and what did they do? They threw me into a dark, deep Mohanda Kopa Puhare Vinipatasya. They threw me into the deep and dark pit. Devesha Dehi. Now I am in this pitch dark well of delusion. And please lift me up. So that's what they are saying. That's what he's saying, expressing that this point. What is it? Kashayam. Kashaya. Yeah, this is what it says. And this is Padyavali. This Padyavali is in Padyavali. Padyavali, it's in 11th verse. I'm just but the fonts are different in here. You can just change the fonts once you receive that one sloka. You can change the fonts and see later. What's in Padyavali?
Prabhuji, you can display on the screen if possible, then we'll take a screenshot.
It's like that. Okay. Are you able to see the screen?
I can see the present for this screen. Asuras close their understanding like that. Bhagavatam I can.
Yeah. 1 minute. Now you'll be able to see, I think.
Now I have seen. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, you can refer to later this one. Padyavali 11th verse.
Yes, yes. Thank you, brother.
Okay, so yeah. Basically, we are in the section where Brahmaji requested the Lord, and all the asuras took up the possession of the twilight. And Prabhupada is also bringing up so many beautiful lessons here. And we will continue. What did Brahmaji do? Brahmaji gave up that body also. And then now he's creating another creation. Now he's continuing. Prahasya bhava gambhiram jagrantyatmanam atmana kantya sasarja bhagavan gandharvapsarasam ganan.
With a laugh full of deep significance, the worshipable Brahma then evolved by his own loveliness, which seemed to enjoy itself by itself, the host of Gandharvas and Apsaras.
Yeah, so here another creation is happening with. So Brahmaji laughed by seeing the demons are just playing with the twilight, thinking that generally also, generally when parents see that children are playing with some dolls and they are laughing, and parents also laugh and thinking that, oh, they are just playing with something small thing. So the Brahmaji also took a smile, deep, full of significance, and then he evolved and he became joyous. And then the hosts of Gandharvas and Apsaras evolved, and they took up that aspect. So Prabhupada explains about Gandharvas and Apsaras, how they are, what is their characteristics and functions in a Swarga. They are playing music and dancing, etc. And Prabhupada explains that we need to employ, say, music and dancing, not for sense gratification, but to glorifying the Supreme Lord. That's the main aspect of everything. That's what the whole story of Nalakovara and Manigriva. So that's later on Vani, Gunanukatane. So they glorified the Lord, my dear Lord, from now onwards we will just glorify your qualities and pastimes. We will engage everything in your glory. So that's the point Prabhupada mentions there about Gandharvas and Apsaras. विसर्जातनुं तां वै ज्योत्स्नां कान्तिमतीं प्रियां तयेव चाददुः प्रीत्या विश्वावसु पुरोगमाः.
After that, Brahma gave up that shining and beloved form of moonlight. Vishwasvasu and other Gandharvas gladly took possession of it.
सृष्ट्वा भूतपिशाचांश्च भगवान् आत्मतन्द्रिणा दिग्वाससो मुक्तकेशान् वीक्ष्य चामीलयदृशौ.
The glorious Brahma next evolved from his sloth, the ghost and fiends, but he closed his eyes when he saw them stand naked with their hair scattered.
It's all ghosts and fiends are creation Brahma are not false. Prabhupada is mentioning that all of them are meant for putting the conditioned soul into various miseries. Because everyone has their own credit of suffering and happiness. So Brahmaji had created this ocean, ghosts, of goblins, etc. Jagrustad visrishtam tam jrumba jrumbanakyam tanum prabho nidramindriya vikledo yaya bhuteshu drishyate yeno chishtan darshayanti tam unmadham prachakshate.
The ghosts and hobgoblins took possession of the body thrown off in the form of ya- Yavaning by Brahma, the creators of the living entities. This is also known as the sleep which causes struggling.
Ruling,
The
ruling.
hobgoblins and the ghosts attack men who are impure, and their attack is spoken as of insanity.
Continue.
The disease of insanity or being haunted by ghosts take place in an unclean state of existence. Here it is clearly stated that when a man is fast asleep and saliva flows from his mouth and he remains unclean, ghosts then take advantage of his unclean state and haunt his body. In other words, those who droggle while sleeping are considered unclean and are subject to be haunted by ghosts or to go insane.
Means, and drooling means kind of saliva coming out of mouth. So that's while sleeping, especially some are drooling, that kind of thing. It's not very clean state. Proper mentioning, they may be subjected to attack. So basically, cleanliness is very much expressed here by Prabhupada. ऊजस्वन्तं मन्यमान आत्मानं भगवानजः साध्यान् गणान् पितृगणान् परोक्षेणासृजत् प्रभुः. Some other devotee can continue.
Recognizing himself to be full of desire and energy, the worshipable Brahma, the creator of the living entity, emerged from his own invisible form, from his navel, the hosts of Sadhyas and Pitta. The
Pitas.
Sadhyas and Pitras are invisible form of departed souls, and they are also created by Brahma.
Pitas, Sadhyas and Pitas. त आत्मसर्गं तं कायं पितरः प्रतिपेदिरे साध्येभ्यश्च पितृभ्यश्च कवयो यद्वितन्वते.
The Pitras themselves took possession of the invisible body, the source of their existence. It is through the medium of this invisible body that those well versed in the rituals offer obligations to the Sadhyas and Pitras in form of their departed ancestors on the occasion of Shraddha. Shraddha is a ritualistic perform observed by the followers of the Vedas. There is a yearly occasion of 15 days when ritualistic religionists follow the principle of offering obligations to departed souls. Thus, those fathers and ancestors who, by facts of nature, might not have a gross body for material enjoyment can again gain such bodies due to the offering of Shraddha obligation by their descendants. The performance of Shraddha or offering obligations with prasad is still current in India, especially at Gaya, where obligations are offered at the lotus peak of Vishnu in a celebrated temple, because the Lord is thus pleased with the devotional service of the descendants. By his grace, he liberates the condemned souls of forefathers bodies, and he favors them to again receive a gross body for development of spiritual advancement. The devotee of the Lord,
Yeah.
or one who is in Krishna consciousness, however, does not need to perform such ritualistic ceremonies as Shraddha, because he is always pleasing the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his fathers and ancestors who might have been in difficulty are automatically relieved. The conclusion,
then he
therefore,
used.
is that Krishna.
Yeah, continue.
The conclusion, therefore, is that Krishna consciousness is the sum total of good work for the family, for society, and for all living entities. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the author says that a person fully conversant with the Krishna consciousness does not perform any ritual which comes. He knows that simply by serving Krishna in full Krishna consciousness, all rituals are automatically performed.
Yeah, so Shraddha is a ceremony where Pitas take all these offerings. So Prabhupada explained that aspect of Shraddha in the principle also, and in for Krishna conscious devotees also, how it has to be done, where it has to be done. In general, the Gaya is the main place where all Shraddha ceremonies are performed for the ancestors. To be basically, the principle is that to gain a physical body, gross body, because of the spiritual credits that they are offered to them. So thereby, because they don't have that kind of credits, they only have a subtle body but don't have gross body. So the descendant favors them by awarding a gross body for further development of spiritual life. So that's the main point Prabhupada bringing out. But for devotees and devotees of the Lord, you just try to please the Lord and devotees also does offers. They can offer prasad, offer the bhoga to the Lord, and offer the prasad to the ancestors. That is also recently also Pitru Praksha event. Many devotees try to offering donations to temple, offering some things to Lord, doing pujas and offering Brahman bhojans, etc. So these are all Krishna conscious ways to giving credits to the ancestors. But Prabhupada brings out the example of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj himself, Lord himself gave a great benediction. My dear Prahlad, up to 14th father back, you are automatically delivered. That's what Prabhupada is also bringing out here. That one is a devotee or a Vaishnava in his family, that it's all taken care, but no need to worry at all. Forefathers and generations, ancestors. So here the power of the devotee and his influence, the more one is pure and one is sincere in his practice, basically Lord is taking care of other things also, other dependents or other family members by his credit. Definitely in the sense that they will have the opportunity to practice spiritual life and immediately perfect. That's the principle explained here. Okay, it's already now it's 4:30. We have maybe 10, I think it's 10-15 verses are there. Maybe very short verses only. Tomorrow we will be able to complete 10-20 minutes. And also tomorrow we will see that remaining clip, how the further creation happened. Summary wise we will just go through, because we read all these things. What all creation happened by Brahmaji in Visarga. Not much kind of a creation, but it's a little more explanation of creation, how these things happened, what happened in between, how Brahmaji's mood, Brahmaji's consciousness, and what is the demonic mentality's consciousness. That is more explained here. And of course the creation of other siddhas, demigods, forefathers, etc., ghosts, hobgoblins, etc. Our creations are explained here. Okay, we pause here for today. If you have any one question, maybe you can ask. Otherwise, we will pause for the day. Okay,
Thank
Srila
you, Prabhuji.
Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.